movie begins in the city of Tarascon, France, in the year 1956, which is 4 years after the previous movie's story. Here, we see a church where a young boy named Jack works as an assistant to the priest, performing tasks like bringing wine and doing small chores. One day, as he is about to fetch wine, he hears a strange noise. He rushes to the priest, who is also startled upon hearing it. At that moment, we see holy water slowly starting to boil and eventually turning into vapor, and then Demon Nun, also known as Valak, appears. She first breaks the priest's fingers and then sends him flying into the air, causing his entire body to burn in flames. In the next scene, we see someone leaving the place, and behind that person is Nun's shadow, indicating that someone has come to work there. The scene then shifts to focus on the lead character, Irene. She is the same character who fought with Demon Nun in the first movie and emerged victorious. The story has now shifted 4 years ahead, and Irene has made a new church her home, where she resides. However, the other sisters and the people around her are unaware of her true identity, and her life follows a normal routine. Soon, some sisters inform Irene that a new nun named Dabra has joined, but she lacks faith in God, and if things continue this way, she won't become a good nun. Irene visits Dabra to inquire, and Dabra explains that her father sent her to serve God, even though he never liked her or her mother. In the next scene, we see several nurses gathered, discussing the incident from 4 years ago. They are unaware that Irene, who performed the miracle, is among them. The scene then changes to a French boarding school where only girls study. The school's dean is Madame Lorraine, and she works with a man named Maurice, who handles various tasks within the school. This movie introduces the viewers to the information that Madame Lorraine had a young son who died in the chapel, and that's why she forbids anyone from going there. After that, we see another character in this story. Her name is Sophie and her mother, Kit, also teaches here. In addition, there are other girls in the class who don't like Sophie and in fact tease her by saying that Maurice is her boyfriend. Their ages have a gap of at least 15 years. This is because Sophie once gave Maurice a small bracelet, and because of this, she was teased by the rest of the girls in the class. After that, we see a girl who worked in the postal service and delivered letters and other items from home to the other girls. She had a parcel today as well. But when she goes inside the room to deliver the parcel, she sees something strange, which is none other than a nun. She escapes, but then the nun lifts her off the ground and breaks her neck, killing her there. On the other hand, we see Sister Irene, who is still having nightmares where the nun is bothering her. She also sees 2 eyes in her dreams, but she cannot understand who the eyes are related to. Now the scene shifts back to the boarding school, where the girls are again going to bother Sophie. This time, they have found a new way to bother her. They take Sophie to the same chapel and say that there is a monster here. Basically, the sun is shining in the eye of a goat in front of them, and if it turns red, you should not move in front of it at all. They put Sophie on the same flash. As soon as the sunlight hits her, the goat's eye turns red, which is the monster's eye, as the girls tell her that it is the monster's eye and it is on you. If you move even a little or turn back, it will come and kill you. Stay where you are. And saying this, the 3 of them run away from there. However, after standing for a while, the light from the eye goes away. Sophie thinks that the monster's eye has moved away from her, and as soon as she tries to get out of there, the girls close the door outside. Sophie's condition had deteriorated a lot. She was very scared, and then the nun arrives there. However, she is able to harm her, but then Maurice arrives and rescues her and takes her out of there. And then he also takes care of those 3 girls, saying that who gave you the right to bother someone. Now, there are also some upper-lower designations in priests, also known as priests and bishops. So, there was a bishop who called Irene and called her Reverend, because she had performed a miracle 4 years ago. It was not in anyone else's power. This time too, such incidents were happening. Fathers from different churches in different places were dying, that too in very terrible ways, and all these deaths were happening in one direction. So, they believed that Irene was the only person who could stop the evil spirit. At first, Irene refuses to do this job, but the bishop insists and says that only you can do this work because you have faced it before. And if you delay any further, slowly and gradually many more people will lose their lives. So, keeping all these things in mind, Irene leaves from there to investigate the case. Deborah also joins her. After that, she first reaches the same church in France where we saw the priest burning in the beginning of this movie. That church was also closed. Nobody came and went there anymore. And on Irene's questioning, she finds Jack playing outside. On questioning Jack, Irene comes to know that he had gone downstairs to keep wine. At that time he felt something like a black shadow. Now here Irene could have asked him more, but Jack had already left by then. So she chases him, and now she stops at a place where there were piles of books in front of her. Slowly the pages are turned by the wind, and finally a figure appears from those pages, which was the nun's or Valak. Irene was very scared, and then the nun caught her by the neck and was about to kill her. Just then, she sees two eyes in her visions, and then she falls, after which Deborah comes and wakes her up. The scene shifts to the boarding school where we see Maurice and Sophie standing far away and looking at him. It seemed as if Sophie was starting to like Maurice. Then we see Maurice, who had fainted, standing there and fell there. The scene shifts back to Irene, where Deborah comes and tells her that Jack gave me a talisman a few days ago, and there is a symbol on this talisman, but I am not able to read it. Now, to read the symbol on this talisman, they reach a Catholic library, where the librarian tells that this is a family symbol and it is only with the descendants of St. Louis. Finally, they understand here that those eyes that they were seeing repeatedly were the eyes of St. Louis. And with this, the biggest plot reveal of the story is that Welk, who used to be an angel, but due to his bad deeds, God kicked him out of his own group. Hundreds of years ago, St. Lucy, who was considered a devil by the people, they all caught him and started burning him. But his body does not burn, and in the end, to kill him, his eyes are removed and he is buried. Basically, St. Lucy was a form of God, but people did not understand this. So here the librarian said that if you have to face Welk, those eyes can help you. On this, they ask that after all, where are those eyes? Where will we get them? On this, the librarian pulls out some more books, and finally they find out that at this time it is buried somewhere under a boarding school in a city called Taissa in France. And this is the same boarding school where Kit, Maurice, and Laurent used to study. The scene shifts to the boarding school where the nun's soul had come out of the chapel, and after coming out, it was killing everyone. The doors there start breaking. And in fact, all the things move from their place. And then Kit and Sophie are also about to die, but Maurice saves them. Just then, everyone starts leaving from there together, but then Irene and Deborah arrive there, who tell that the real devil is walking with you and he is French, that is Maurice. And then all the plot reveals happen here, that how in the beginning, the priest was burnt to death, so that means that person had come out of those alleys. There was the soul of Welk in him, and he was going through Welk. In fact, all the deaths that happened were done by Maurice, because he was in the possession of the demon nun. And now the nun's motive was to get the eyes of St. Lucy after killing all of them. Because if those eyes got to it, it would become the most powerful of all. But as Irene was told that before finding Welk's eyes, find him and he will work like a weapon for you in destroying this evil spirit. So all of them start looking for those eyes. Where Sophie says that it is possible that he has come inside the chapel, because I have also seen the monster's eye shining there. So they all reach there. But it is night, so without the light of the sun, the monster's eye also does not shine. After that, Deborah shows a torch from behind and the goat's eye turns red. Then Irene understands that the place where the light is pointing, the eyes may have been buried there. After digging there, they find the eyes of St. Lucy. But by then Maurice had reached there, after which there was a lot of fighting between those people. He comes and throws each other from here to there. Deborah wanted to face him. Even she chants the mantra of God, but it has no effect on Maurice. However, he did stop for a moment. Blood had also come out of his eyes. But Welk's soul was so powerful that Maurice was completely possessed by it and he was just listening to it. So far, the box of those eyes was in Sophie's hand and she took it and ran to the top floor of that boarding school. Maurice follows her to kill her. Irene and Deborah are seen losing their courage. But then they see old visions, where she can see her mother and remember her past incidents, that how did she face all of these. Both of them encourage each other and now in the name of God, they move forward to destroy this evil spirit. On the other hand, we can see Sophie, who had reached the big bell locked on the church. But due to the havoc that Maurice had created below, the walls had become weak and that big bell fell down. Then there is a loud explosion and the box of eyes falls from Irene's hand. Just then, the nun, who is the soul inside Maurice, comes in her true form and was about to kill everyone. Then Irene finds that box and with the help of that box, she finally kills the nun, from which a lot of light comes out. The nun could not handle this light and left from there, after which Maurice also recovered and that soul too. After leaving from there, the whole atmosphere calms down and the movie ends here, How did you like this movie? Do tell us by commenting. And do subscribe to our channel.